I was mentioning precisely the well, I analyze games here on the channel, as I was mentioning to another viewer, Paggy, to BG Phantom DSO, that I analyze games, and one of the core elements of of the first impressions of Drakensang Online um, is precisely the inherited level design from the late 2000s. Thumbs up to you as well. Thank you for visiting the stream. Um, in that sense, the one of the core elements that I wanted to highlight as the very first impressions, the very first things that I played Drakensang for a bit. Uh, well, I I played the the what was it? The tabletop game first. I analyzed the tabletop game first, and now because if you ask me, I'm reviewing this one. I played Drakensang for a bit, but stopped around the time they released level 100. No, in my case, it's my first try. Poogie VG, and also the other one, VG Phantom DSO. Thumbs up, yes, sure. And thanks for the follow and everything, Phantom, as well. Hope the my crazy analysis, my crazy metaphysical analysis are enjoyable for both of you. Yes, yes, yes. I read the history of the company. Must have been, if I'm not mistaken, Max was 55 before. Well, it's my first time, but I bet Flying Energies and Phantom could confirm you, or even District if he drops by the stream. The thing is that it was absorbed by a Chinese company. It's gone, says Phantom. From level 30 to 40, 45, 55, 100, with the expansions probably. It's gone. It's gone from 30 to 40, 45, 55, then 100. More or less there you have the whole history. Yeah, 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 yeah. It has to do maybe with the Chinese cap. I see. With the Chinese, in my case, it's my first try. I'm playing Drakensang Online for 14 years, by the way, but with breaks in between. Well, it's like me with Star Wars: The Old Republic that I stopped playing back in 2015 and then returned this year, for example. The It's the case with these games. It started, as I was mentioning, being absorbed. Radon Labs, the original developers of the tabletop game, by by Big Games GmbH, the original developers of the game, that they absorbed the team of Radon Labs, a German developer in, as Flying Energy said, in Hamburg, in Germany. They absorbed Radon Labs, Big Games GmbH, something like that. Absorbed them. They couldn't get the license for the tabletop game, and then they were acquired by the Chinese company that started all of the pay-to-win mechanics that, for example, District complained about them when he and the Steam reviews as well when I checked them in the first stream. So yeah, first absorbed Radon Labs, couldn't get the license, so pretty much that's when the level cap was like that, and then the Chinese company that everyone hates. At least District doesn't like it. Another viewer of the channel, pretty much. That is the one that asked me to to review this one, pretty much. So yes, as I was mentioning, the level design precisely. The level design precisely that makes this game quite different to the style, to the paradigm, when compared to the paradigm shift of Diablo 3. That also, as I said, the level designer of Ravencast Rise of the Mage, when he visited my review, mentioned to me that he appreciated that I took a look at the level design. Is that in Diablo 3 the dungeons aren't as narrow as in the late 2000s, if you pay attention to it. They are not as narrow, and you might think that, well, Eraser, but that's a subtle, stupid reference. Like, what's the point of? How does it impact the the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, the fact that the level design is narrower. Well, precisely what I commented to the developer of Havencast Rise of the Mage in that final analysis. The narrow dungeons, the narrow passages of dungeons in the late 2000s before Diablo 3 had a huge impact. For example, in Havencast Rise of the Mage and in this game, what I noticed the same in Diablo 2, in Titan Quest, since the dungeons are so narrow, the passages are so narrow, you don't have a lot of room to maneuver and avoid the enemies and avoid getting killed. In Diablo 3, have you noticed how you can pretty much jump around all the map, the whole map, and you won't be surrounded by enemies except in very specific cases? That's why the degree of efficiency of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics is so important. If I create an isometric action RPG in which the player can endlessly do this and run away, for example, see that here the pacing of the cooldown also plays a role because I cannot do that endlessly, then I am destroying the source of the difficulty, the organic source of the difficulty of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. That's the amazing key element that always fascinates me and also the developer of Havencast precisely. The dungeons benefit a lot from being narrow because they prevent the player from freely maneuvering with a lot of free casting time. Especially in Havencast that all of the abilities are casted. You don't have instant attacks, for example, except the very basic ones that won't help you. So the pacing of the cooldowns combined with the influence of the level, you'll find yourself trapped in DSO in many cases, but of course there are at least two skills to escape on almost every class. Yes, of course, I mentioned the skills in the previous stream, Phantom. But the thing is that the developers, when they originally designed those dungeons, that's the key. That's the key. They made them narrow, and it's amazing that they create that situation because that will prevent maneuvering. You will have the abilities to escape, of course. You can do this, but it has a cooldown, and that causes the source of the difficulty to be organic and natural, not the raw input damage. For example, think about World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, you can get through enemies, which leads me to the point that I was mentioning at the beginning of the series of Drakensang Online. The weight of the physics inherited from Titan Quest. I cannot get through enemies by just walking. I am forced to use those skills, and those skills have a cooldown. That is the economic system of the game, because at the end of the day, cooldown is part of the economic system of the game. It's a resource. Those 5 seconds or 4 seconds, 5 seconds, that cooldown is an economic resource that you have to manage. It derives the difficulty. It causes a relationship between the source of the difficulty and the economic system of the game, because a resource at the end of the day, the 5-second cooldown, is an economic system of the game that the player has to manage. And precisely in the late 2000s, what the situation that you are describing was the rule. But after Diablo 3, it made the scenarios so huge, Diablo 3, it made the scenarios so huge, that it distorted the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, if you ask me. Why? Because in Diablo 3 distorted the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. Why? Because one, the scenarios are so huge that you can do what I just mentioned, that is a deficiency. You can just run away, not with the mount, I mean, just by getting through enemies. Wait. There we go, there we go. There we go. You can just run away from batches of enemies without any kind of problem because of how floaty the physics are. In Diablo 3, I don't know if everyone thinks the same. I think that the physics in Diablo 3 are extremely floaty. You can get through enemies with the spin of the warrior, for example, with whatever. They don't have a weight to them. For example, in this game, I tried just walking through enemies, and I couldn't, because of how the pathfinding and the physics were designed. In Titan Quest, I cannot do it, and in Diablo 3 you can do it. Just try this, walk through a group of enemies in Diablo 3, and you will most of the time be able to do so, because of how floaty the physics are. And that's precisely a paradigm shift when compared to the inherited tradition of Titan Quest, when it pretty much designed it fixed the 3D point-and-click system after the void left behind by Diablo 2. So that physics system of Diablo 3 combined of being so floaty and fast and hack and slashy, combined with the fact that the dungeons aren't narrow enough as to prevent maneuvering, the combination of those two elements causes Diablo 3 to have a deficiency in the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, because the player has way too much room and pathfinding and physics to maneuver through the terrain, for my taste, in that sense. That's why one of the reasons, then I will comment it to District, another viewer of the channel, precisely why he and Flying Energies and all of you love this game so much, because it inherits the physics of those original 3D isometric action RPG games instead of Diablo 3 as one of the reasons. There are, I bet, several more, but I can instantly tell that one of them is that, precisely, without a doubt. Here, I had one more. Place a blessed Agathian amulet. There we go. It's one of the reasons. The relationship between how narrow those passages are and how the physics behave in that sense. I know that these are all very abstract and silly topics for everyone watching this as a YouTube bot, for example. They may sound like that, but they greatly affect the gameplay experience, because if you think about it, it also distorts the difficulty of the game. In Diablo 3, how is the difficulty achieved? In a very unnatural way, by just exponentially increasing the raw input damage of the enemies. Pretty much the same formula as World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, you can get through enemies, and they just crank up the damage as much as it is required to cause that difficulty. I always mention that the difficulty of a game is an essential part of it, because if there's no challenge, the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics is lowered. That affects replayability, because if a person can beat a game without any kind of problem, without replayability, without different difficulty modes and everything, it destroys the psychological impact on the player. It destroys that feeling of progression on the player, that psychological feeling of progression on the player, because there's no challenge. The same if there's no bosses. For example, I analyzed an FPS game that had no final bosses, for example, in that sense. It was called Singularity by the developers of Call of Duty. And it had no bosses. The gameplay was amazing, it was very tight, they were the developers of Call of Duty, it had perfect FPS mechanics, first-person shooter mechanics, but it had no bosses. Only, I think, 1 or 2 bosses, and they almost had no mechanics, for example. Well, that destroyed the difficulty, and after destroying the difficulty, it destroyed replayability. And since it destroyed replayability, it also destroyed the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics, and it destroyed, at the end of the day, the most important part, the psychological feeling of progression on the player's mind, the brain works through repetition. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the thing. And if you cannot repeat the gameplay mechanics that need to be good, of course, because otherwise it's a boring repetition, then it doesn't create that dopamine in our brains, let's say, because at the end of the day, now I read it. Because at the end of the day, it destroys the challenge. It destroys the challenge of the game. It's not a silly topic. In this game, there is a big problem with rubber banding, I believe. When you try to go past the mobs and the space is narrow, there is a big chance you will end up going back. Yes, it happened to me. It happened to me quite a few times. And I appreciate that you don't think it's a silly topic. For example, see that I cannot do this. In Diablo 3, I would be able to do this. To get through the mobs much faster. Well, that clipping that you are mentioning, that rubber banding clipping, it was one of the problems. When you try to get past the mob and the space is narrow, there is a big chance you will end up going back and get stuck on the mobs rather than go your way. Not sure if that makes sense. Yes, it does. It does. It does, and a lot. I mention it as a silly topic because most people over at YouTube, I then upload all of my bots over at YouTube. You have the review bot, because a lot of people over at YouTube may watch it as a bot, and I ironically say that precisely it may be a silly topic that I always mention. It's a topic that I always mention, so I cannot regard it as silly. That is a subtle element. For example, it does make sense. It has happened to me, and it is related to the topic that I'm mentioning. That after Diablo 2 to the isometric action RPG, it left a void in terms of the physics of the point-and-click system control of games that belong to this genre, to the isometric action RPG genre. But that tends to happen with higher movement speed. With slower movement speed, the possibilities tend to be lesser of having the clipping. Yeah. But still, in terms of the bigger picture of the problem that it is, at the end of the day, it's a deficiency. We need to pay attention to the release dates. This game the original release was 2008, correct? 2008. In that period of time, I was mentioning at the beginning of this stream that it was a convoluted period of time in terms of figuring out the physics of the pathfinding in 3D isometric action RPG games after the void of Diablo 2. Precisely, that's why I analyze these topics as the first parts of the stream, of the autopsy, of the dissection of the game. Precisely, and if we pay attention to the release dates, pretty much all of those cases that I have mentioned, the Hand of God, Loki, Space Siege, the forgotten successor of Dungeon Siege, that was a Diablo clone, let's say it was an isometric action RPG, they all had that clipping. Precisely, they had that clipping, and only Titan Quest fixed it. Only Titan Quest had proper physics in the, let's say, mid-2000s 3D isometric action RPG period of time, in that sense. So it's no surprise that with the release date of this game, 2008 I think it was, or 2010, this when I read it in the first stream, I think it was 2010, a bit after Diablo 3. But it was clearly being developed way before 2008. That's the key. In this period of time, roughly 7th generation, for those who like consoles, the PS3 and the Xbox 360, pathfinding was a problem. It was a problem. Because of that clipping that you will also find in Space Siege, for example. Well, in Space Siege it's even worse. I can tell you that it's the same clipping, but it's even worse in Space Siege. I played that game and you can see it. It happened to me. Does that have anything to do with the engine? I'm not any familiar with this field. No, I'm also not a game developer or anything like that. But it has to do with the NVIDIA physics engine. It has to do with the NVIDIA physics engine. How it handled physics back then. Physics, they were trying to apply the physics that we nowadays take for granted in more modern games, that for example the bodies are kind of like they move more naturally. Well, back then they didn't use real life actors to put kind of like movement detection spots, motion detection spots at all, so they had to implement the physics engine on those, and Nvidia designed something called the fix engine that is still used today, but not for all of those movements. And in that sense, it had to do with the well, it implemented it implemented the fix engine, and that I can presume interfered with the pathfinding. That interfered with the pathfinding. Pathfinding was a problem both in, especially in one of my favorite genres. I don't know if anyone plays real-time strategy games. My favorite genre was real-time strategy alongside MMORPG. Uh, in real-time strategy games, precisely the developer of Dungeons and Dragons Dragon Shard, you have the full interview in one of my links, was one of the first viewers of my channel, always eternal thanks to him. He mentioned to me that they could finally fix, because the transition of 2D to 3D also affected the real-time strategy genre. Games like Age of Empires, Warcraft, and the pathfinding was a huge problem. For example, if you play the original version of Warcraft 3, even Blizzard, let's say the masters of the genre, had a problem with pathfinding when the transition from 2D to 3D happened. So they are all absolutely fascinating topics that I love dissecting for every single case that I analyze. In that sense, so precisely the developer of Dungeons and Dragons Dragon Shard, when I analyze that one, say for example there's the clipping. For example, there you can see that this was common. It honestly wasn't a surprise for me, both for the real-time strategy genre and for the isometric action RPG genre. This was a problem with different results. You can never control how physics work. For example, in Space Siege, for example, the point and click is not precise. In Loki, the same, and in this one it's like this. But it's all derived from the physics. How convoluted the transition from 2D to 3D was in that sense. Alright? But yeah, it has to do with that. Yeah, that happens a lot in speed farming, and it's so frustrating. It will happen to you with any isometric action RPG game, or with most of them, except the miracle that was Titan Quest. And Fate, I also recommend Fate Awakening, the predecessor of Torchlight. That they fixed that, precisely. That clipping. And all of those things, nowadays we take them for granted, and that's a terrible mistake, because while in modern games you won't see that, it took a lot of effort by a specific batch of developers, in that case Titan Quest, to fix it for 3D games. Pretty similar to the case of The Legend of Zelda, with fixing there it is again. Of The Legend of Zelda fixing 3D targeting for RPG games. You know that the system that Dark Souls uses, people, is that of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It was actually fixed by The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time with the C targeting. The fact that if you use a button, use the CL or CR button on your joystick, and it focuses the camera around a single target. That silly thing fixed a huge problem that the early 3D games had back in the day. That if you couldn't focus the camera around a single target, then you had to be constantly readjusting it, and it was extremely cumbersome. It was terrible. Think about, for example, in the original Spyro the Dragon or other 3D platformers, even Super Mario 64 suffers from this. Even Super Mario 64 suffers from this. So imagine, in that sense. So I think that in the case of the isometric action RPG genre, people just don't give the developers of Titan Quest enough recognition regarding that. Because if you think about it, Titan Quest is not as famous as Diablo or even Path of Exile nowadays. And it should be. It should be because Titan Quest fixed those 3D physics for the first time. In that sense. And I bet it took an insane amount of effort because we were transitioning from 2D to 3D. Like nowadays it's easy with 20 years of transition already finished, but it was a feat back in the day in that sense, in comparison. Okay, people, getting back to the level design influence, see how narrow the passages are. See how the combination of those physics that we have been commenting with the narrow passages, the combination of those two elements creates a high degree of efficiency in the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. By influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, I mean, as I've said, how it affects the source of the difficulty in this case. See that the difficulty comes from me being surrounded and killed by the enemies because of that weight that they have to them. In Diablo 3, once again, the paradigm shift for the genre, we need to refer to it constantly. The physics are extremely floaty. You can jump through enemies, whatever, and that distorts the source of the difficulty. Okay. In the case of Drakensang, so far, there are some semi-open world instance dungeons, another difference in terms of the genre classification to set it apart from the MMORPG genre. In that sense, MMORPG games are all very open world, and this one is a combination of semi-open world areas and instance dungeons precisely to provide that relationship between the level design and the gameplay mechanics. Because the difficulty derives from that, not from the raw input damage like in MMORPGs. In terms of the level design, it combines them. I have arrived. It combines them exactly like Titan Quest and Diablo 2. In the case of Diablo 3, even the dungeons feel semi-open world because of how wide the passages are. And with this, I'm not saying that just Diablo 3 is a pile of crap and it ruined everything in that sense, but it did shift a lot of paradigms that the influence of Diablo 2 had a previous influence on all of those games from the early 2000s. See how interesting it is. It made the gameplay faster, Diablo 3. It made the physics much floatier, and afterwards the proof that this system from the late 2000s that derived from Diablo 2, that is an adaptation of the 2D system of Diablo 2, it still works and is much better because of several reasons, is none other than the fact that then Path of Exile was successful, being exactly like Diablo 2 instead of Diablo 3 in terms of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. See how at the end of the day, most isometric action RPG games that are released nowadays, in terms of the physics and that influence, they feel much more similar to Diablo 2 than Diablo 3. That's the ultimate proof that the system of Diablo 2 precisely was so successful because of the influence, because of the degree of efficiency of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. Precisely. They are all going back to Diablo 2 rather than Diablo 3. After Diablo 3 we had Path of Exile. Let's recap a bit. Path of Exile is exactly like Diablo 2, the physics system and that influence that I'm commenting, just in 3D. Then we had several other examples, like for example Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr, in that sense. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, that I need to play as well. The which one was it? The other one that was quite famous. Hades, that one is a roguelike. That one is a roguelike, that famous indie Hades from Supermassive Games, something like that. That one, if you pay attention, the physics, while the enemy spawn density is that of Diablo 3, the level design, hey, there's a skull there. That generally indicates fun. But was that the objective? Which was the objective? I know, that's not the objective. Kill Nefertari alchemists. Hey, a skull generally means fun. In gamers' language, the skull generally means fun. So yeah, pretty much. So you can see that they are all making it. Which was the other one that was so famous? Sorry, I don't want to forget the names. I don't want to forget the names, people. The Torchlight, and all of the new ones. Grim Dawn, all of the new ones that are being released. Okay, I think the objective is not here. All of the new ones that are being released, they have the physics of the level design philosophy of Diablo 2, and they even try to mimic the physics as opposed to Diablo 3. Alright, there we go. The guidance system went crazy for a sec there. Or maybe I killed everyone in the dungeon. There we go. There we go. I had killed everyone in the dungeon. They should have included 10. Why only 9? So yeah, pretty much. There you can see, it's the ultimate proof that the physics system of Diablo 2 was more successful than that of Diablo 3. Is how all of the modern games are returning to it. The new one that I discussed with District the other day. I don't remember the name. It was one that was just released. Oh well. All of the ones that the recent Path of Exile 2, even Diablo 4. This is the ultimate insult, people, if you think about it. Diablo 4 tried desperately to mimic the physics, the weight of the physics, the pacing cooldowns, and pretty much the whole influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics of Diablo 2, not of Diablo 3. It tried to. Of course, if it did it or not, I haven't played it, but according to the gameplay that I've seen, it's the ultimate proof of how successful the slightly slower paced gameplay and higher weight of the physics in the impact animations does play a huge role. I have to go. Sorry, I hadn't read. I have to go. It was nice meeting ya. Good analysis. Thank you, Phantom. Visit me whenever you like. I always appreciate all of your company. It's my greatest gift, as I always mention. That's why I stream. I always enjoy all of your company all the time. The same goes for Flying Energies, for Paggy, and for District, of course, always all the time. Have a great day, and see you whenever you'd like and visit the stream. I analyze one topic per stream. That's the thing. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for visiting and the follow. Thank you. Always. It's an irreplaceable gift. Always, I always mention it. You too. Good night, Phantom. Have a great week. If I don't see you, have a great week. All right. Next topic that I wanted to comment is the we already analyzed pretty much the first impressions of the gameplay mechanics, the level design, and the influence between them. I want you to mention the pathfinding as another small footnote, if you don't mind, people. All right, we have to kill those. The pathfinding, precisely regarding the clipping, because you can have perfect weight animations and everything, But if the pathfinding is terrible, then the controls are definitely flawed in that sense. You could argue, Tall journeyman's stuff. Oh, what? A skin there? It has a skins? Hang on a second. The pathfinding was a huge problem, as I have been mentioning constantly. Oh, well, that's a huge difference here. I haven't updated my gear. I don't think it will be needed for leveling. A huge problem. I have been able to one-hit kill pretty much a lot of stuff. Where's the skin? Journeyman, what? I don't see anything, but well, whatever. Pretty much. Pretty much. In that sense, people. The pathfinding of those um, the pathfinding in games from the early 2000s, of the early 2000s, was also a huge problem. If you think about it, in Diablo 2, it was quite difficult to get through enemies, and and pretty much. What's this? Acolyte pauldrons. What? Maybe if I click here. It was a huge problem, both for the real-time strategy genre and the isometric action RPG genre, getting through those enemies with the pathfinding. That's why Diablo 2 had the shift click that Flying Energies mentioned to me the other day precisely. That is pretty much the solution of Diablo 2 for that. The shift click and attack to constantly root in place and throw your fireballs or whatever it is that your main attack is. Quite interesting in that sense. So is that a solution for the pathfinding back during during the birth of the 3D isometric action RPG genre era? Was it the perfect solution? Well, not perfect, because it doesn't solve the main aspect of the gameplay mechanics, which is completely eliminating that clipping. In that sense, it doesn't eliminate the clipping completely, but it was still improved by Titan Quest as one more footnote that it improved. I think that's it. Find the book, the mighty power. Okay, there we go. So yeah, pretty much I wanted to cover those two topics of analysis for today, and last but not least, I wanted to highlight the well, we'll take care of the well, it's a bit of an abstract topic. If it's an intrinsic or extrinsic combat system, I still don't have enough elements to deal with that. If your base attacks are increased with stats, but I don't think you increase your stats in this game. I need to pay attention to that. I think it doesn't increase the stats in that sense. There's a bit of lag when you point and click, with the circle kind of like expanding on the point of clicking. There it is. There we got the book. There we got the book, and bring the book. Okay, that's it. Anything else that we need to do here? No. We could go back. We could go back, I think. Or not. Let me see. Yeah, I have to go back. I don't see any other objective. Pretty much. I don't see any other objective. Okay. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, it has an amazing influence of the level design. It has an amazing influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. In the case of Drakensang Online, what I can see as the first thing is that it inherits all of those elements from the early 2000s, from the early 2000s, from the early 2000s that it that it mimics 100%. That it mimics 100%. Pretty much. Okay. Let me see what we have to do some quests because I end up getting lost in thought with the analysis and we don't get Troll Canyon. We have to finish this one. A report to Alfred in Where's Refugee about the conversation. Sparky Resist. Troll Canyon is another area, so we'll go with this one. Let me mount. Then we need to do a run of Titan Quest, people, huh? Because I need to finish it on the second difficulty. I need to finish it on the second difficulty, and pretty much get access to the Embers expansion. That will be amazing. I have a legendary one button hit build that is absolutely amazing. Alright, there we go. Oh, it's the clipping again. Yeah, pretty much, people. Let's I bet they I bet that's hard coded into the game engine. Otherwise, they would have fixed it. In that sense. I bet they would have fixed it. The fact that they haven't fixed it after so much time that the game was released, is proof of how it must be hard coded and baked. It has to be baked in into the very engine of the game. Otherwise, they would have fixed it. Okay, we're back here. This one is which was the area? Eternal Grove. It's not the Troll Canyon or whatever. Okay, here we go. The presence of a deity will not go unnoticed. Our wild goddess is full of scorn, and the environment responds to that. If you really want to stand by us in battle, you'll help us by restoring things to the natural order. Okay. Have you faced the fury of the forest? No. Where is the fury of the forest? And it derives into a side quest. This one. Quest guidance is complete. There we go. Report to Alfred. Okay. I have to fucking go back. I guess I have to fucking go back. In that sense. Then I want to see how's the stat system of this game. Because you cannot increase it naturally. That would be interesting. So it inherits the stat system of Diablo. Because in Titan Quest and in the late 2000s, you increase your base value. I want to see kind of like the strength instead of like. It increases automatically every level. Alright, we'll analyze the stat system then next time. For the next time, we'll analyze the stat system. We'll analyze the stat system in that sense. Look at that. Pay attention to that, people. It increases automatically with every level. You don't spend an economic resource like increasing your strength. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I need to take care of that. District, hello! How you like Drakensang so far? How's it going, District? I was commenting on the physics system in the previous 2 hours with Flying Energies and two other people precisely. The the physics system, if you play Titan Quest, is exactly the same. I like it. I like the physics system because it has the way you have some banners on left side to claim. Banners? You mean this thing is District? Special offer? Daily login banners. Ah, it gives you bonuses. And what does it give you? Day 1, day 2? I was wondering, day 2, because of the stream the other day. This one. Okay. The essences. Yeah, Flying Energies taught me how to do the essences here. Pretty much. Yeah, and this one has to be with the pay to win mechanics, pretty much. I was mentioning it, District. I love. We have bonus codes. Bonus codes? What the? What that? I don't know. I don't get that far. If you want to use it, no, no, no. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Keep them for people who play the end game content of the game. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, yeah, I do the same. No, no, no. Keep it for the people who play the end game content. I in that sense, they will value them a lot. Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I am doing my crazy analysis that you asked me, and precisely I was mentioning that I love the physics. I love the physics because they are exactly like Titan Quest. They're exactly like Titan Quest. The weight of the animations and the impact, I can see why you like them so much, and I can tell you that they derive from Titan Quest in a pretty, well, I explained it in the previous 2 hours, in a pretty convoluted period of time of the transition of the isometric action RPG genre from 2D to 3D with the Void. We have a lot of events. You checked the events tab? You have a lot. We have a lot of events. Yes, I've seen. I've seen them. Like, was it somewhere over here? Here, and I also saw that that they get automatically here added to the journal. I bet there are a lot more. But first I want to focus on the story pretty much. Um, and precisely what I have been mentioning, that it inherits. You like this game so much compared to Diablo 3. Yeah, don't do events now. Focus the story. Yeah, precisely. But one of the reasons I made it use that you and Fly Energies and everyone who plays the game so much and has been so loyal to it has to do with the physics, precisely, and the influence of the level design and the gameplay mechanics. This game is pretty much a perfect example of inheriting the level design influence of Diablo 2 instead of Diablo 3 in terms of the gameplay mechanics. It's a perfect example. Why? Because I have been commenting in the previous 2 hours, District, that the fact that the passages are much more narrow in terms of the level design makes it harder than Diablo 3, makes it much more hardcore. Because of that, the repetition of the farming and the psychological sense of progression is much more efficient. I am beginning to tell why there are a lot of elements, why you love this game. Precisely, it is like Titan Quest that in turn inherits the formula of Diablo 2, without a doubt. Because of that, the source of the difficulty is derived from being surrounded and killed in the dungeons rather than the raw input damage, like in Diablo 3, that is just an exponential multiplier of damage of the enemies instead of an organic source of the difficulty, as my first impressions. And it's Have you saw how many players are in city? Yes, in Kings Hill. It's full. In the Kings Hill city? Yes, I saw them. I saw them. That's why. That's the key. In my analysis, I want to get to the elements, that made this game so addictive for so many people throughout time. I saw them, that it was full, and it's a feat. It's an absolute feat uh, to do so, because like it survived Diablo 3. Even in this city you are now, there are players. No, no, no. I can see the reason. I want to get into the objective core gameplay reasons as to why you all love the game. I want to get into the core reasons, and one of them is precisely the ones that I have been mentioning. Uh, precisely. Hey, the main quest. There we go. Drakensang. Was this the main quest? It's pretty much like it was one of the this game, I bet, was one of the refugees for those who liked precisely the physics of Diablo 2 after the release of Diablo 3 and Diablo Immortal, and the more floaty style of physics of being a bit more hack and slash. I was commenting precisely. One of the reasons of the success of this game, of Titan Quest, well, Endgame is mostly of Titan Quest, of Torchlight, is that they kind of like picked up the torch of Diablo 2 with the physics of the influence of the level design and the gameplay mechanics that Diablo 3 didn't do. Well, Endgame is mostly, I would say, pay to win for grind fast or play to grind. And you have to play a lot. Well, yes, indeed, Star Wars Republic is the same, and etc. Yes, but you keep playing it because it's not the physics of Diablo 3. It has the physics. Well, at least I can deduce one of the reasons. Maybe you can give me many more, but I can tell that it was one of the refugees after the flop of Diablo 3 initially, one historically. Second, it has merits of its own. Um, in the few days that I have played, I can spot that as I have been mentioning, that the style of the level design is that of Titan Quest, of Torchlight, of isometric action RPG games from the late 2000s. And that was a formula that was successful. Precisely, you can see it. Yeah, it was a formula that was successful, and you can see how successful it was compared to Diablo 3, because of how modern isometric action RPG games will feel much more similar to this one than Diablo 3. I was mentioning the case of the new one that we commented, that I didn't remember the name, the one that we commented that you were playing, the besides Grim Dawn, the other one that was just released, Lost. What was it? Lost Ark, and no, the other one. Lost Ark, no, the other one. The other one, the purple one, the one that has the purple cover. Last Epoch, that one. Last Epoch, that one. Thank you, District. Last Epoch. Thank you. I was trying to remember it the whole night. Last Epoch, Grim Dawn, Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, Torchlight 3, all of them, all of the post-Diablo 3 isometric action RPG games I was mentioning some hours ago to another person, they all inherited the gameplay style of Diablo 2 and Titan Quest, rather than Diablo 3, including Drakensang Online back in 2010. I think it was a release date that we read in the first chapter of the analysis. There we go. It inherited. They were all so successful and they survived because the physics of Diablo 2 and the efficiency in the relationship between the level design and the gameplay mechanics of Diablo 2, at the end of the day, I think it proved to be much better than Diablo 3. I don't know if you like Diablo Immortal more than Last Epoch, or what's your ranking district, but I think the fact that most modern isometric action RPG games they have the weight in terms of the physics animations of Diablo 2 and Titan Quest rather than Diablo 3, I think is the ultimate proof that the system created, that the weight of the animations and the impact of the attacks, for example, and the pacing of the cooldowns of Diablo 2 was perfect and successful, much more than its successor. And the ultimate proof is Diablo 4. In Diablo 4, they tried to mimic Diablo 2 rather than Diablo 3. I think that's the definitive proof that the highest degree of efficiency in terms of the relationship between the level design and the gameplay mechanics was Diablo 2. By that I mean that you are surrounded and killed by enemies, and the pacing of the cooldowns of the abilities, and pretty much how the dungeons are designed, and how the fact that you cannot that the physics aren't as floaty as in Diablo 3, in which you can get through enemies without a problem, and in this one you can get surrounded and killed. That's pretty much the level design influence efficiency of Diablo 2 rather than Diablo 3 in that sense. Ship comes from the Northlands. I agree with Roshan. Bring the Spirit Stone to the Ambassador and extend to her my sincerest condolences and apologies. I was mistaken and misjudged the loyalty of her people. Pretty much. Okay. How is your in Troll? Alright, we have to go to Troll Canyon. Okay. Bring the spirit. We also had to go there for another one of the quests. For another quest. I think I could fast travel. Because I unlocked the stone there. It was here. Yes, I want to test the fast travel system for the first time. Let's go. So yes, as for once we've established the genre classification the genre classification of the game being an isometric action RPG with MMORPG elements instead of an offline MMORPG with isometric action RPG elements, the predominance of the isometric action RPG brings a lot of consequences that we explored today in the first 2 hours, people. And as a conclusion, pretty much, as I've said, it inherits the level design, the extra complexity of the gameplay mechanics, and the relationship and influence of the level design and the gameplay mechanics of the early 2000s of isometric action RPG games. Namely, Titan Quest. Titan Quest, a huge reference. You will see that the physics are pretty much the same. It ignores the floaty paradigm shift in terms of the physics of Diablo 3 that is, I think, is terrible in comparison to Diablo 2. It keeps the traditions of the genre in terms of the weight of the physics, the pathfinding as well, another element that we analyzed before. And because of all of those things, one of the first impressions is that the abstract complexity of the gameplay mechanics and the level design, they mimic that of Titan Quest, of the style of the late 2000s, in that sense. The second consequence that brings is that it's slower than Diablo 3. The pacing of the gameplay is slower than Diablo 3. Another conclusion because of that influence. And that slowness, let's say, compared to the paradigm shift of a more hack and slash experience, brings the weight and the impact of the animations to a very meaningful spot, if you know what I mean. when your attacks are floaty, think of Diablo 3 or Diablo Immortal. When your attacks are floaty and they are just flash explosions on a screen, they don't have the weight and the dramatic impacts that, for example, this one has. Generally, there are tricks to mitigate that. For example, Diablo 3 uses blood, like this one, but even if you pay attention, the amount of blood of the enemies and the explosions and the animations in Diablo 3 are very light, very subtle, quite subtle, a quite subtle topic, but plays a huge role. Because one of the things that people complained a lot when compared to Diablo, when comparing Diablo 3 to Diablo 2, it was how meaningless a lot of the attacks felt. Have you noticed, people? That is so flashy, so fast, and so floaty that they lose the impact animations. You know what other game suffer from that? Not from the isometric action RPG genre, but the FPS genre, the third-person shooter genre in that case, sorry. Gears of War. The first Gears of War had the heaviest blood physics animations and impacts that you could think about. And then I should have teleported here to precisely to King's Hill with all of the players. Gears of War, the first one, had the heaviest blood animations ever, and then Gears of War 4 or 5, the impact animations of the bullets in that case instead of the attacks, since it's an RPG, they don't have that impact. And one of the elements of those attacks being so properly, because here's the key. Give me a second. Here's the key is properly representing the picture of the attack and what the player imagines in his mind properly on your screen, like the dramatism of the attacks. I know it's very subtle, but it's one of the core elements that subconsciously a lot of players criticize games for. In the case of, for example, Gears of War 5 with the bullet animations, or Diablo 3 with the attacks. Burning Sign is the main quest. The ancestors already told me of my brother's deaths, but I thank you for the prince's words and the spirit stone. The gates have opened and the souls are being lost. All the powers awake and all enemies are clinging to their grudges. Okay. Alright, where's the main quest now? Oh, you can lose track of the main quest. What? Maybe I have to go back. How do I proceed with my main quest? There has to be a way. Okay. Let me find the stone to teleport back there. I bet I have the main quest over there. Sorry. I bet I have the main quest over there. Or is it that one? Okay. No, I bet it can't be this one. No. How do... Where's the main quest? I didn't know you could lose track of it. Okay. Here, no. This is the main... The teleport stone here. The travel stone. Maybe over at Warian Sanctuary? It has to be there, people. I mean... Here? Is it this one? To the prison of souls some time ago, but he never returned. Is it this? Yeah, it's this one. This one, found it. I skipped this one. Okay. Okay, pretty much only one quest to do, people. As the main quest. Of course, we also have the other one. Maybe, wait, I'll check the other one before leaving. Wait, I'll check the other one before leaving. Wait. No, this one was daily, that I had already completed, and I don't think it's this one. No. This have to be side quests. Okay, side quests. Okay. Getting into the impact animations, I wanted to treat as the fourth topic of analysis for today. The weight of the physics also affects a huge aspect, which is how dramatic those animations feel. Okay, and while it may seem like a silly topic, like all of the other subtle topics that I mentioned before, precisely about that Phantom mentioned previously. No, they are not silly. They are quite interesting. Yes, pretty much the idea is that when you make the physics so floaty, so unimpactful, and so fast, like in Diablo 3 specifically, they so fast, they lose not only weight, and by weight I mean that the splashes of the damage feel impactful, but also dramatism. They don't feel dramatic. It feels like you are floating and just sparkle and just kind of like throwing magic fairy dust on the enemies, like a bunch of flashes on the screen. Something that a lot of players complained about in Diablo 3, for example. They feel floaty. Found treasure sword. Quest guidance is complete. We have to go back then. No, recover the sword. Okay, let's go. So yes, people, in that sense, next time I will analyze the stat system of the game for the next topic that I wanted to cover now that I've taken a look at the early game gameplay mechanics and level design. But the key is that another one of the reasons I can tell, besides the influence of the level design being exactly like isometric action RPG games from the early 2000s, before the paradigm shift of Diablo 3, the other aspect I can tell why a lot of people love this game is, for anyone watching this as a YouTube bot, is that the impact of the physics and how dramatic they feel is like in Diablo 2. It's like in those old school isometric action RPG games, precisely, like in Abenkast Rise of the Mage, like in Titan Quest, like in Torchlight. They feel impactful, and that's see how all of the fire emerges there. And you must be thinking, well, but Diablo 3 has those animations. Yes, but they happen so fast. That they lose that dramatism, that weight and dramatism that they have to them. I know that it feels like a silly topic, but it's part of the physics of the game and the gameplay mechanics. And it's essential. Because then, when you start playing the game, you don't mind when you start playing Diablo 3. But after a while, when you are farming for dozens of hours, that floatiness of the physics feels unimpactful, meaningless, devoid of player action. And by devoid of player action, I mean that the representation that the player has psychologically in his mind is not translated to the screen. It's a very abstract topic, but quite complex to achieve by developers, those animations. Nowadays we take them for granted in a lot of cases, but that's a mistake of reviewers, people. That's a terrible mistake, because after dozens of hours, that's why I wanted to treat this as my last talking point of today, as the fourth talking point after analyzing the gameplay mechanics and the level design, because it's the ultimate consequence of all of the initial elements that I laid out at the beginning. Because of the influence of that level design, because of those gameplay mechanics, at the end of the day, the worst danger, the worst deficiency is not representing the impact animation, the weight of the impact animation that the player has in his mind of what the character should do on the screen. In Diablo 3, after dozens of hours of farming, it feels so floaty that most of the player base also agrees that the animations end up feeling unimpactful, and it's one of the reasons a lot of players wanted precisely to go back to the gameplay style that is a bit slower of Drakensang Online, that is inherited from Titan Quest and is inherited from Diablo 2. So at the end of the day, even Diablo 4 tried to mimic Diablo 2, Last Epoch, and a lot of the modern isometric action RPG releases, Grim Dawn, Torchlight, etc., they tried to go back and mimic the roots of the isometric action RPG genre, which is Diablo 2, because of this underlying reason, because the slightly slower gameplay affects how dramatic those impact animations feel. It's one of the reasons, not the predominant, perhaps. I do think it's a predominant one, but it's one of the reasons why the animations feel so impactful, and one of the reasons why a lot of people will love Drakensang Online, because it retains that classic feel of the impact animations that makes that synchronization between the player's mind uh, picture, the player imagining what the ability should look like and what it looks like on the screen. It's completely synchronized. The impactful animation represented in the player's mind and what's going on the screen. And one of the elements that helps is that it's a bit slower when compared to Diablo 3. Ambition and Despair. Sorry that it took me quite a lot of time, but I know you know that analyzing the psychological impacts of all of these things, uh, it's also one of the core reasons as to why a game can be addictive or not, and at the end of the day, successful or not for anyone who's playing them. So that's the key, getting to the reasons. Eraser, you're here! Did you find my sword? Great. When I was heavily injured and captured, I feared that everything might be lost, but now you and I will search for Prince Aldred together. Ah, interesting. Phase 2 of the quest. Eraser, I was seriously injured when the undead captured me. I'm in need of a healing potion. No, not one of yours. Not one of yours, of course, because you will need them for yourself. A sentinel stole my healing potion. You have to go to it has to be that one. It has to be that one. Okay. It has to be like that. Yeah, otherwise it would have been way too easy, people, in that sense. Okay. Let's go. Another aspect that there it is. Another aspect that I will need to analyze, people, we can leave it for next time, is the detection range and the efficiency of the NPCs. I need to take care of that. All right, let's destroy this. No. And grab the quest item. Ah. Right click to use. The daily. Ah, look at that. Look at that. Then we have to also analyze the stat system, the item system, the skill tree system. So many things to analyze, people. Don't you love it when we start a new analysis of a game? So many aspects that we have to analyze of the game. Alright. Magician's Orb. Yeah, but that one requires a short stuff or something like that. Resistance is no, poison resistance is no, and this one. How about this? Should close. Oh, look at that, they are much better. Okay. I don't think. There we go. I should worry about the. Alright, no, it's this one. 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 I don't think I should worry about money for now. Oh. Nice. Nice. Then I need to learn how to extract crystals from weapons. Maybe I need a specific item or something. There we go. That should do it. Then I need to learn how to extract the crystals from weapons so I can reapply them to others. Okay, here you go. Give it a healing potion. Ah, now my wounds are healed. Remember, we are fighting against the invasion of the undead. So far, we don't have any other aspect of the storyline to think about. Alright, it's already been 3 hours. Damn it, people. We'll leave it here in terms of the analysis. I'll just play the last hour kind of like with the analysis. Then next time we'll have to analyze the stat system, the item system, the skill tree, all of the aspects of the gameplay mechanics that the game has to offer. We'll explore that. But for now, I'll just do the last hour, just trying to get through the story in that sense. So those are my conclusions for today's analysis, people. I will play the last hour, but those are my conclusions pretty much as to some of the reasons as to why people enjoy the love the gameplay mechanics of this game so much, and pretty much also the aspect of um, the early game gameplay mechanics and levels. Pretty much. I realized I didn't finish my what Flying Energy was saying before, that the history you listen in school. That one of my first viewers precisely was from New Zealand, and he mentioned to me that he loved that the format setting of my stream was precisely like semi-academic, let's say, semi-academic, in that sense that you get a comprehensive vision of whatever the game is doing. Not that I do anything crazy, but yeah, pretty much. Now my wounds are healed. I thank you. Now get me out of this cage. We have to find Prince Aldred and the High Priest. One of the Nefertari's soul collectors took the key to my cage. Ambition and despair. I can't wait to find His Highness Prince Aldred. Is there any progress in front of me? Okay. What's this shit? Extraordinary chest, purchase lockpick. Ah, well, whatever. Yeah, the pay to win mechanics. Take the bone keys to the Nefertari Soul Collector. Okay, let's see. Maybe we have a boss. Something that I've noticed that could improve the game is having more bosses. Like Diablo always had one boss at the end of each chapter. So far I've only faced one here. We'll see, I bet there are some others. Okay. This one. Free routine. Okay, easy. That's it. Easy peasy. Piece of cake. Alright, he's attacking. Cool. Oh, look at that good 3D audio. I could perfectly tell the fireball traveling there over at the left side of the screen. Free at last, I thank you. I will proceed much more carefully from now on. Don't worry, I will not be defeated or captured again, I promise. Prince Aldred followed this KHALYS person freely, but what is KHALYS intending to do with Prince Aldred? There must be clues to what she's planning upstairs in the liar's lair. Let's search separately because we need to hurry up. Okay. Here, there we go. There we go. So yes, people, those are the conclusions for today's analysis. We pretty much today we pretty much analyzed the the gameplay mechanics, the level design, and the relationship between them. Oh, 4 damage. Oh, armor value. That one is good. That one was lucky. I also need to analyze the drop rate. I'll look at the essence of vigor. Oh, look at that. It was like this. Yes. Yes. More armor. Then I loot the essence. Then I apply the essence like Flying Energies taught me. And now... I just do this thing here. Just to free up inventory space. Yes, give me my resistances. These are for weapons, so I'll keep this one if I loot a short staff, because they are all double-handed so far. Weapon attack speed. Okay. There. I organized it a bit. I have this one. Critical value. This one is also for weapons, I presume. I presume it's also for weapons. I think I got them all. There, this one. Let's go. One sec, people. BRB. Have to go to the bathroom. One moment. Alright, back. Sorry for a small pause, people. Here we go. Alright. Looks like this is the final dungeon. Here we have like nested dungeons. Pretty much. Okay. Alright. Examine the cloth rack with the garment of the High Priestess. Okay. Examine the cloth. Yeah, right. Damn it. Escaped experiment, I love that. Intercepted letter, found intercepted letter for Aldred. Alright, that was another one of the quests. Pretty unfinished hours, which here. On Carl's desk in the Workshop of Horrors. The Workshop of Horrors, people. Yeah, definitely older games have that. Well, here, well, hang on a second, I'll have to clear the area. Definitely older games have that feel we were discussing the other day, precisely. They have that feel of um, of the developers knowing what they were doing in a lot of cases. There we go. We have to go back to the caged girl. There to Rutina. There we go. They definitely had that feel. Oh, there we go. They definitely have that feel of being of the developers knowing what they were doing. Not that there are not good games nowadays, people, but back then, like the average quality was absolutely constant. In that sense, like I can tell all of these. They felt a bit more planned, not better, a bit more planned, like strategically designed. Like there was a bit more of research and development and planning when doing the game. Ambition and despair. So KHALYS wants to become the new High Priestess of Duria by expelling the undead she is secretly controlling herself. In the end, she schemes to convert whole Duria to the Nefertari cult. Prince Aldred has been manipulated by her and he grew suspicious. KHALYS needs Prince Aldred to appoint her as High Priestess. Only a member of the royal family can do this, because they descend from Agathon himself. We have to stop her and rescue the prince before he succumbs to KHALYS' manipulations. KHALYS' manipulations? Oh, right. Then, how do we stop them? There. Examine the statue of a dragon blood in the Forbidden Library. Let's do it. Alright. See? This was my point the whole time. For the whole night, people. How it perfectly mimics the physics of isometric action RPGs from the late 2000s, rather than the paradigm shift of Diablo 2. Ah, well, now I may be able to negotiate. Hellboy, everybody, damage. But what's the point of this combo if it doesn't, if both of them don't add damage? What's exactly the point? Nope, the one that I'm using still has more damage. Yeah, I'm pretty well equipped, I guess. What about this one? Nope, pretty well equipped. Uh-huh. You can hit them off screen, eh? Interesting. For... Ah, yeah, pretty much. That's better. Routine, there you are. Huh? What? Statue of Dragon Blood? Uh, I think I had another quest to complete here. Talk to Prince Aldred in Forbidden Land. Finally, help has arrived. KHALYS showed me dragon assaults in Duria. Remember that they cannot use Aventuria because of the license problem of the game. Because of the license problem of the game, that the whole universe, the Drakensang universe of the tabletop game, is still property of the original owners. So they call it Duria instead of Aventuria. It's a bit of a difference. Yeah, a bit of a difference. Her mirror of visions again and again. She pressed me to slay the high priest with the sword Scapanor as a sacrifice, and appoint her as a new high priestess. Okay. Destiny of the Dragon Prince, Frightful visions of Durian flames. KHALYS forced me by magic to watch. I could not bear it any longer and blinded myself. That's why he's blindfolded there. With Scapanor to break her spell. KHALYS lost control and killed the high priest. You have to prevail where I failed. Demolish the mirror and kill KHALYS. Okay. Alright. Okay. We have another quest here, though. Or not. Stonefish trolls. No. Find a clue about the High Priest's fate in KHALYS Elysium. Okay. Let's go. I can also see Path of Exile inheriting elements from this game. The ambience feels quite similar to Path of Exile. Of course, Path of Exile updated the graphics, but still. Hell, finally! Skull, people! What a better way to end this stream in the last 40 minutes than with a red skull. Yes. To put an end to her malicious plans. Okay, let's go. Red skull, people. Red skull generally means fun. So yes, pretty much. Red skull. Lost soul of the high priest. For help against the dragons, KHALYS demanded my death by Aldred's hand. This evil deed would have tainted everything. Aldred's soul, the sword Scapanor, and my staff. Only then KHALYS could have taken the staff as a new high priestess, but now it lies here. Okay, take the staff. Staff of high priest, my staff. Okay. Where exactly? From the body of the high priest. Okay. Talk to the ghost. We go back. Ah, right. How will I do this? That should be much faster and efficient. Scapanor and the staff of the high priest, relics from Agathon's age, protected against the touch of the defiler, and her devotees. Both relics hold the power to break KHALYS' spells, so she planned to taint them. But Aldred's will was stronger than hers. Achievement unlocked, alright. We love you, player. Well done. Sorry, people, I worked a lot today, so that's why you see me that I'm maybe yawning from time to time. It's not that I'm bored, it's just lack of sleep. It's not bored, it's lack of sleep. In fact, I think the game is quite good because of the physics, because it's just like playing Titan Quest, and I love Titan Quest. The Mirror of Visions is indestructible while KHALYS is alive. Make sure to defeat her first. She may have taken this former convent of Agathon, but his protective seals on the floor are still strong and will shield you from her foul magic. Okay. Kill KHALYS. Okay. Quest guide is not available. Why? What? Alright, the boss is over there. Silly me. Okay. Boss fight, people. Boss fight. KHALYS, boss. Alright, he's weak against everything. Again. There you are. Oh, teleport. And here I was complaining about bosses. Immune? I hope those replenish. Level 25. Same level as me. But what? Yay, first death of the game. Yeah. First death, and I have no fucking idea what kind of environmental damage killed me. Okay. Use a spirit guard or offer a sacrifice to the goddess of destiny to be brought back to life quickly before you stand at the mercy of the creator. Okay. Last urban area you visited. Oh, okay. Alright. Interesting. Ah, and it retains the amount of life that she had. Alright, this KHALYS is... You cannot avoid that stupid attack, or what? Nope. Oh. She's not taking damage though. I'm trying to avoid that attack, but I think it's possible. I think this boss fight is to teach you to use those things. Nice difficulty spike though, huh? Ah, if you keep running, then you can avoid them. Alright. Alright, quite interesting. There is no avoiding those attacks though. You can block them, I guess. Let's see if they dissipate. Doesn't look like it. How do you avoid that? Hey, I survived. Look at that. Does this one make me unkillable? No, this. Oh yeah, that makes me unkillable. I mean, it makes me immune to damage. Let's see. Ah, but they keep following. But it gives me immunity. Like this. Yep, there I avoided the damage. Damn it. And now she activates that crazy stuff. As she lights up the points, she then goes for the ultimate that deals so much damage. Oh boy. There we go. Perfect. That one. Oh no. Right. You know, if I had been so careful in my first attempt, this would have been... would have been much better. Ah, you just recover the health. Okay. You slowly recover the health. Okay. I get the point. I just need to be wary of that final attack. I think I can do it. Don't worry, people. Don't worry. Ah, it also deals a bit of damage. Should be like this. Damn, she teleports a lot. Alright, you just need to survive long enough as for the red orbs to respawn. What about that? Can I? It has to have a limit. There, that destroys them. Could it be? No. It's a range. They have a range. There we go. No. No, survive. Oh, damn it. Stupid shit. Stupid shit, I need to remain close to here. That's the only thing that can one-hit kill you. Let me do this one. Alright. There we go. I need to wait for her to teleport over here. Come on, teleport. Come on, let me deal the damage. Come on. Alright, no. I have to wait for her to teleport over here. I cannot risk that attack. It's a one-hit kill, pretty much. Where is she? Oh well, whatever. I'm sick of this shit. Come on, take some damage. And now I just wait for that to recover my health. Okay. You could also use potions, I guess, but yeah, whatever. It's more dramatic this way. Come on. That shield. No more shield. That should help. That should help, that should help, that should help. No, there it is. No, no, no. There we go. Did it. Look at that. People, I got it. Right in the nick of time. Look at that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Any red orb? Now I need to be careful. Now I need to be really, really careful. I wait outside. Anyway, she doesn't recover health. Red Orbeez. I wonder if I can hit her off screen. Oh, damn it. Shit. Yeah, no. No, we have to wait. Otherwise it's a warranted death. There it is. Orby right there. There we go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't risk it. Darn it, I shouldn't have picked that one. There it goes, and you survive. Like that. Wait for the orbs to respawn. Alright. That could be a problem. Ah, there it is. Thank you. See, my strategy is working, people. My strategy is working. Don't they have a limit, goddammit? Well, yeah, better to go straight for her. There we go. But the problem is that if she activates the other ability here, I'm dead. I need to remain over here. Like that. See how fast it was. Look at that. Quite hardcore. I don't know if this is the intended way to attack this boss, but still. Perfect. It's working for me, hey? Hey, it's working for me. And I love that it's quite hardcore in that sense. I'm at full health. Okay. I need to be careful with that legendary, with that AoE attack. Okay, no, they have a limit in range. Oh shit. No, not that brutal attack. Not that brutal attack. There, we lock. We lock and attack. To remain close to the other. Wait, what? The shield of KHALYS has been regenerated, but not the health. Okay, look at that. Okay, but not the health. Okay, it was just the shield, not the health. Okay, there's a timer. Or maybe it was part of the mechanics. This was crazy, you know? Or maybe I was meant to farm a bit more before attempting this. Oh well, there we go. Yeah, she didn't recover the health. So if you know the mechanics, you can do it. So that one coming from a mile away. Look at that, people. I mastered the mechanics. Would you look at that? Ah, now she's recovering health. Ah, look at that. Well. Okay, no worries. Then let's fix that. Yeah, I was first learning the mechanics in that sense. I lost quite a bit of time first time. Just don't remain there. Don't remain there. Stay here. Immune to what is the question? Oh no, no that shit again. I'm beginning to think I was meant to be at much better gear and stuff to this boss, but no matter. Let's not waste time. I'm getting a bit more comfortable with the boss now. Immune. Yeah, it has a positive damage ratio. In that sense, we'll be able to do it. There he goes. Okay. Yeah. But still the health is here. Damn it! I love this, huh? I love this gameplay mechanics, huh? I'm loving this gameplay mechanics. I want to see something. If it has to do with the meters... Come on, let's not waste time. I wonder if it has to do with the meters of the time that the orbs spend traveling. Where are you, KHALYS? There you are. Perfect. With an orb right beside you. Well, time is also... it's also on her side. If I don't attack. Because the shield and the stuff replenishes. Keep it up. That should increase the traveling distance of the orbs. Very good. Here he comes. No. survive here. This would be much easier if you used potions, you know, erase sword, but still, where is she? This is the perfect spot. I'm close to the exit. God damn it. Why is she immune to? So many of my attacks. There it goes. That's so freaking fast. Luckily I reserved the last hour of the stream for this boss. For this boss fight that I didn't know about. So this is like the test for any player of this game. Like, okay, now when she stays there. Okay, perfect. Risky. Lock in. The shield is broken, you know, so. In fact, I think I wonder if I can deal damage from here. There it comes. Saw that from a mile away. Look at that. Alright, so you cannot stay here replenishing health naturally. You have to. Wait, what? You are forced to attack, of course. Keep going, keep going. Come on. Where is she? Where are you? That's way too close. Too much damage. Want to try and attack her from afar. I wonder if it's infinite and I'm actually hitting her. No, it has a limit. My basic attack has a limit. There, it took a hit. There we go. Damn it, it's instant, huh? You can barely avoid that attack. Okay. I think there was one here. Then we go back in. Where are you? Wait, what? Perfect, right at the entrance. And then back again. Wait, what? Get out of there. Nice. Perfect distance. Let's lock in. Amazing. Got her right where I wanted her. Oh, I just need some lucky shots. Perfect. Max distance. There we go. Take that. First try. Well, first try. I got killed several times. Several times. Oh well. Alright, that was 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's the duration and quality of a boss fight that I would love for any isometric action RPG game. honestly, perfect. How they handle the mechanics. The respawning, I would have made it different. Like, I wouldn't allow respawning in the same area. Like that. But the duration was brutal. I think it was a 30-minute, half an hour boss fight. In that sense, that half an hour boss fight, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. Honestly, perfect. Honestly, perfect. I wish Diablo or Titan Quest had boss fights like this. I wish they had boss fights like this. Very well executed. Dramatic and long duration. In that sense. I love long durations. The boss fights with durations like this. In that sense. Incredibly executed. And the second boss fight of the game. In that sense, how about you stop bothering me? There we go. Wait, what? Quit bothering me. In that sense, perfectly executed. Destroy the mirror of visions. Okay. Ah, we have to destroy the mirror. Here I was about to leave. Quest guidance is complete. Done and done. Honestly, impeccable. The length of the boss fight I loved. And the mechanics, how they handled it, amazing. Wasn't casualized or anything like that. Instead of respawning the whole health bar, it was kind of like gradual. Amazing solution, huh? It was kind of like gradual to be a DPS, a damage per second check on the player. Also an armor check, because if you couldn't resist the attack that she did. It was also all of that damage would have been. It's a DPS checker, a perfect way of handling it. It's not that you just die and respawn somewhere else. No, you can respawn, but then she gradually recovers health after a period of time and the shield. I get it. I get it. Ah, it is accomplished, Eraser. You have forced the vile cult of the Defiler back into the shadows. The faith of Agathon will stay pure and strong. Agathon's blessing shall always be with you. Okay. Soon I shall be blessed with a return to my almighty creator. Please ensure that the return of the staff into the worthy hands. Juria must always have a high priest to guide and protect the order. But first, talk to Prince Aldred. Okay. Talk to Prince Aldred. Alright, we gotta go talk to Prince Aldred. Alright, that boss fight was amazing. That boss fight was amazing, and I think I'll leave it here, people. I'll leave it here. That boss fight was amazing. See, I told you that the Red Skull was going to mean fun. That boss fight was amazing. How they handled the economic system of that boss fight, specifically. How they handled it. How they handled the shield and health regeneration. So the boss fight remained challenging without just respawning somewhere else or whatever it may be. The economic system of the boss fight was impressive. It was impressive. It was impressive. It managed to hold an amazing amount of challenge, and and at the same time, it also had those red spots, those red globes that forced a perfect positioning by the player. Very well done. Very, very well done. In that sense, very well done. How they handle the economic system of the boss fight. Much better than the first one. Much, much better. The challenge was there. It seemed impossible, but it wasn't. It was quite grindy, but not impossible. It was a challenge, but not impossible. Very well done. I remember that in Path of Exile you would get one hit killed. In that sense, here it's a bit more balanced. Very well done. Very well done. Generally, boss fights in this genre are a problem. They are either way too easy or way too hard, and this one just hit a sweet spot of difficulty. Very, quite well done. Pretty well done. Pretty well done. The economy of the boss fight was pretty well handled there. I died sometimes until I learned the gameplay mechanics. Very well done. Alright, people. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. Sorry, I was getting lost in thought. Thanks to District, of course, to Phantom, to Mr. Paggy, and to Fly Energies, to the four of you for visiting me today. I always appreciate your company. Always thanks to Discord members. Special thanks to Phantom for being the 40th follower of the stream. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to all Discord members, Twitch followers, then also to YouTube subscribers if you are watching this as a YouTube VOD in the future, and in general to anyone who might have taken time to watch this as a Twitch VOD or YouTube VOD in the future, and you spent even a second listening to my crazy metaphysical analysis. People, it's been my pleasure. See you all on Thursday when we'll continue with Star Wars New Republic with the new character that I rolled. I will go for a different class. I'll go for a different class there, and we'll continue with the main story there. I don't forget anyone over at YouTube. No, perfect. There we go. So yes, pretty much we'll do that. So see you on Thursday when we'll continue with Star Wars The Old Republic. Oh, it's already 9:05. Perfect. People, it's been a pleasure. See you all on Thursday. Have a great week, and hope my crazy analysis was enjoyable for all of you in the first 2 hours of the stream, and then the boss fight, of course. People, the conclusions then, and the boss fight. People, it's been a pleasure. See you all on Thursday. Have a great week. Bye.